Chapter 5. Smoke Break. Kelly. I watched her slip out the back door onto the porch. I found myself following her shortly after. And there they were, sitting next to each other by the pool. Everyone knew they should have been together. They grew up together, living next door since they were 10. But did she know that I loved him too? Jenny came from a nice little family. Her mother was a waitress at the local diner. She was the hardest worker in town. Everyone wanted to sit in Katie Jo's section. Not only that, but she was an intern nurse at the hospital downtown. But if that wasn't enough, she sold jewelry on the side to help bring in a little extra money she needed to help feed 4 little mouths in a rundown kitchen. Never any jewelry that she or Jenny could afford. Jenny was home with her 4 younger siblings. It was natural to her. She'd been raising them since she was 18, ever since her worthless father left them. I don't know where that man is now, but I wouldn't be surprised if he was on her list of victims. I worked at the same diner as Katie Jo. I would be next to be sat, and someone would come in, asking to be in her section. You would just feel defeated. But Katie Jo was not the person you could hate. She'd bring in cookies for the waitstaff. When she ever had time was beyond me. She never takes anything and does nothing but give. Oh, and when Billy came in, no one wanted to serve Billy. She was always right there to take him. He was the neediest customer and left no tip, ever. I remember I wanted to spill coffee all over him when he had the nerve to give her a hug saying, "Oh, Katie Jo, it must be so hard to be a good wife, good mom, and a good Christian." And I watched in horror as his hand slipped down her back to her rear. She just smiled at him, picked up his check, and walked away. How do you do it, Jo? I would have slapped that smug face all the way out the door. She just smiled at me and shrugged. Her only response, "You know, I don't drink, but sometimes I need a stiff drink. Sip from a high, full glass and let the world fade away." Me at 17? That made no sense. I would take a quick break out back, sneak a cigarette that I stole from Daddy, and out she'd come. "Kelly, what are you doing?" There was no judgment in her voice, no accusations. I hid the cig behind my back. I could only take a few or Daddy would know. "What do you mean?" I asked sheepishly. She just leaned on the wall beside me. "Oh, this is nice," she sighed. I took another drag and felt the smoke fill my lungs and feel the warmth in my cheeks. "What do you mean?" I exhaled. And just like she said before, I don't smoke, but sometimes I could use a long drag. Yeah, I know it sounds bad, but sometimes I could use a smoke break. And then she just headed back inside. I only heard that one time several years later. Mount St. Joe was not the cheapest school to go to. Sure, there were several options I could have taken, but I chose the university for their nursing program. It wasn't like I couldn't afford to go to school like Jenny. My daddy was a real business guy, and we had the means. Someone who didn't have the means was Samuel. Samuel went to Mount St. Joseph University on a full-ride baseball scholarship, so I knew that was a school I would go to as well. He always dreamed of living in a big city, and Cincinnati was not his idea of a big city. One time, our school went to New York City for our senior trip. There he was, standing alone. Everyone was looking up at the Statue of Liberty. Some of the other baseball jocks were trying to look up her skirt. I just rolled my eyes and spotted Samuel by the waterfront. He had pouted earlier because Jenny wasn't able to make the trip. Whatever, here was my opportunity. He never seemed to reciprocate the same feelings, but I was determined. He looked out at the skyline. I snuggled up next to him. One day, I'm going to be a big businessman right here in a city like this. Samuel had big dreams of climbing the ladder of some huge corporation. After a year in business, he suddenly transferred over to pre-law. He wanted to help people. Samuel was actually the first in his family to go to college. They were all farmers, driving around in tractors. Originally from Iowa, they somehow landed in Cincinnati when Samuel had turned 10. His family used to own a meat farm right in little old Delhi. When his grandparents, his mother's parents, passed, his father moved to the city to take care of affairs and just stayed. Cincinnati was huge on pigs. They even had pig statues scattered around the city, dressed and designed with different pig puns. The one at the theater was Phantom of the Slopera. That was Samuel's favorite. Everyone called me a Little Miss Two Shoes. I seemed to be Daddy's princess, and everything I wanted, I got. But Samuel. He never had anything handed to him on a silver platter. Maybe that's what attracted me to him. He wanted to work hard, be a good man, be a good son, do something good that mattered. I was the party girl at school, so of course, sign me up for those college parties. But I never saw Samuel. I wanted to be there with him, have him get me a drink, hold his hand as we sat outside on the curb. He'd hold my hair as I hurled. You know, romantic stuff. Once the baseball team won a championship of some sort, or maybe they lost and they were just celebrating their season, I don't remember. Don't think I really cared. But I knew that Samuel had to go to this party or his teammates might give him hell. I was there for over an hour expecting him to show up, and I never saw him. No matter how many of those baseball jocks tried their best to bring me to their dorm rooms that night, there was only one guy I wanted to spend the night with. Also, I'm not that kind of girl, regardless of the reputation my high school tried to paint me as. I went out to take a smoke break, a bad habit I still had and hadn't stopped in college. Ironic, I know, going for pre-med degree in smoking. That stuff will get you cancer, my mom would shout at me. I'd just shrug. Anyway, there he was, leaning up against the balcony, looking out into the night. Hey there. He turned and smiled with those blue eyes of his that I could swim in, never coming up for air. Okay, sure, I stole that from the Trolls movie. But when Justin Timberlake says it, you know it's good. Anyway, what are you doing out here, silly? Just needed some air. I took a drag and blew smoke out into the air. He winced. Oh, I'm sorry. Here, I'll put it out. No, it's okay. I'm fine, really. He was too perfect sometimes. You don't have a drink. You need a drink if you're celebrating tonight. And here it came, the same message I had heard a few years earlier. I don't drink. He paused. But you know, sometimes I want to just pop that top, take a swig and make the world stop, watch it fade away. You don't drink? You don't smoke? Man, where do they make guys like you? He chuckled. Nope, I don't smoke. But sometimes I think I could just light it up. Yep. And when things get tough, just forget school, forget baseball, just take a smoke break. I didn't know it, but his dad's father was dying. 3 different cancers. I mean, Jesus, one cancer would be enough for anyone. But this man had prostate cancer, thyroid cancer, kidney cancer. I took my drink and lifted it up to him. He looked around, nothing in reach, and grabbed a little potted plant. I chuckled. Well, Samuel, here's to you, and here's to when the day gets too long, you go ahead and take a load off. And then I downed my drink, and he downed his potted plant. Samuel went off to law school, Yale, no less. Me, I'm still working my butt off here in Delhi, working at the Children's Hospital in the burn unit. I love it. I mean, it's hard some days. The pain can be too much sometimes. Oh, and yes, I stopped smoking. I stopped drinking. I took a moment one late night and stepped outside to take a breather. My coworker, Yasmin, was out there smoking her own cigarette. She looked over at me. Girl, what are you doing out here? I thought you never took a break. Just go, go, go. Sometimes I just want to buy you a 6-pack. No, a 12-pack. 24-pack. Is that even a thing? I don't know, I responded. But I don't drink. You? Shocking, I know. But I could use a stiff drink. Sip from a high, full glass. Just let the world fade away. I'm guessing you don't smoke either. Nope. But sometimes I could take a long drag. Yeah, I know it sounds bad, but sometimes I just need a smoke break. And there she was, Katie Jo in my mind. I smiled. I missed her. I was heartbroken when I heard that she had passed. Jenny was only 22. I can only imagine what Jenny felt. And to make it worse, the courts didn't think Jenny was good enough to raise her 4 siblings, even though she had been doing it for the past 4 years. They were sent to her aunts in Kentucky. So whenever the day gets long, when the work's all done, when the sun sets, I may forget all the trouble in my life, but I will never forget those words. I'll take my own cup or potted plant and fill it up, sip it slow, and just let it all go. Until that night. We were celebrating Samuel returning home for a visit from Yale. Though no one seemed to care that Samuel was the guest of honor, so many people were packed in my parents' house. There was only one person I cared to see, and he was kissing another girl by the pool. I grabbed the closest cup and downed it. Turning around, I whipped the tears from my eyes and headed back in to see who would be joining me in my bed that night.